Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, Algo Artisans Cowboy here, and we have a pretty quiet week coming up. There are some events that we're going to talk about. Before we get into it, go to the description, get your free Algo links in there. You get to see me build an Algo, test it out for yourself, see how you like it. Not meant for you to trade, just for educational purposes only. Give us a real name, fake name, we don't care. Put an email and you'll have it immediately. Now we're going to take a look at the usual suspects this week. Chart-wise, we're going to see NASDAQ, USDJPY, BTCUSD, EURUSD, AUDUSD, GBPJPY, and gold. Before we get into that, we're going to take a look at the economic data that's coming out and how it might affect the market. So here we are over on forexfactory.com. Not a lot of news today. Tomorrow, just a small bit of news here at 5:15 a.m. EST. That is Governor Bailey is going to speak, Governor of the Bank of England. That could move the pound around. Wednesday at 11 p.m. EST, RBA Governor Bullock speaks. That might move the Aussie dollar around. Thursday is when most of the news is. All the PMIs come out over the European session. At 3:15 a.m. is the French PMI. 3:30 a.m. EST is the German. And then you have the general Euro data coming out at 4 a.m. Then you have the British pound at 4:30 a.m. EST. Then you have some pretty big news for the euro at 8:15 a.m. EST. This is probably the biggest news, especially for the euro, for this week. And that's Thursday, 8:15 a.m. EST, the main financing rate and policy statement for the European Central Bank. 15 minutes later, 8:30 a.m. EST is USD unemployment claims. And then after that, 15 minutes later is the press conference for the ECB. So a lot of action on the euro on Thursday, and it's probably not really going to stop until the morning, late morning. And then, of course, the US has their PMI data coming out, and that's at 9:45 a.m. That's Manufacturing and Services Purchasing Managers Index, and so that's just letting you know whether or not those sectors are seeing a lot more movement in the economy. The last bit of news this week is at 2 a.m. EST on Friday, retail sales data for the Great British Pound. Let's jump into the charts, and we will start with the NASDAQ. Okay, so the NASDAQ's pretty bullish. We got an all-time high earlier today, and that was at 23,426, and that was a pretty big open today. That was a lot of strong price action, and price does appear like it may want to come back a little bit, and that is due to a divergence. In particular, a histogram divergence in the MACD. So when you see this kind of price action right here, where the MACD top makes its way down to a smaller top, and yet at the same time, price is rising during that same interval, price going up, MACD going down, and this is less than half the size of that, you can expect a significant move down. So we might see a pullback, and that's why I have this move down a little bit lower. The most likely place for the NASDAQ to pull back, should this pull back at all, would be here at about 23,165, and it could also go down to just above that at about 23,220. So in the low 23s, that is where it may pull back to. It could go deeper, certainly. You might even see it go down to 23 flat, but the reality is that things are just very bullish, and I don't expect that to change at the moment. Even if it does go down, it might be just a quick liquidity grab and a push back up. The target for this move that's been going on, going back to last Wednesday, is at 23,600. That's the target. Now, we could see more bullishness from the NASDAQ. I've been looking for a pullback, and they're just not coming, and the algos have also been saying there's not a pullback coming, right? So the algos have been calling just a consistent move up in the NASDAQ, and as long as they do, that's what I'm going to see on the charts. But at some point in time, there always tends to be a pullback. The question is whether or not it's going to hit about 25,000 on the NASDAQ before that pullback. If I were to look at everything right now, I don't see that happening. If we were to take a look right now, it just looks like it wants to head up until it grabs that, but the nature of these strong moves up are that they will pull back when you don't expect it. So it could continue to push up, and that would be over 10%. That might take a while. It wouldn't happen maybe till Q4 or September, but don't be surprised if price just continues to grind up with slight pullbacks, and don't be surprised if you get a strong pullback on the way up 25,000, and don't be surprised to see that, to be precise, 25,400, say by the end of Q3 at some point, if not sooner. Let's take a look at USDJPY. So USDJPY is pretty bearish. I do expect it to find a little bit of support here at 146.021. That might be kind of a head and shoulders type look, so it could go deeper. But right now, there's not a lot of liquidity below 146. So 146 is where it's probably going to want to bounce. It may not bounce very high. There's a lot of bearishness in the chart, but as price makes its way down there, if it does, then we're going to see what happens. It could continue to break down, but there's just not a lot for the market to eat down below there. So we might see sideways action until it determines what it wants to do next. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin just going sideways. I thought it was going to break out next week. It attempted to break out, and it even attempted to break out this morning. At this point, this is starting to look a little bit heavy. The algos are bullish on the high time frame. However, enough sideways action like this without challenging those highs, that high of 123,284, and Bitcoin may choose to make its way back down to 112,000 and do a grab of liquidity. Price did move up awfully quick right here from those highs. Price may need to come back down and grab liquidity before it will move up. And the slower it goes to grab that liquidity, the better for the altcoins, because those are starting to do well right about now. If you do want to see an altcoin, let me know in the YouTube comments. But as long as it's not some coin that nobody's heard of, that has no liquidity, that's a meme coin, if it's a coin with decent market cap that charts like most larger cryptos do, then I'd be happy to chart it for you. Let's take a look at EURUSD. The euro is bullish, and it is up against some significant resistance, but I think it is going to grind up and to the right. Now, we do have some local resistance areas where price may knock its head and come back down on the way, one of them being right here at 117.22. So price may try to grind up and just kind of do so slowly. Now, there's always the chance it doesn't go slowly, but that's just what the algos are indicating right now. It's going to want to maybe go back and find its way to this top right here, this high, this local high of 118.30. We'll see if it can make it there. I don't think it'll do so by the end of the week. Let's take a look at AUDUSD. Okay, so the Australian dollar has some bullishness to it, but as you can see, it's really been going sideways for quite some time, just a slow grind up. And I expect that to continue. And with a slow grind up, it's not quite as likely to break out of local highs. It has tried to break out of these highs recently. There is kind of an ugly head shoulders pattern here, so it's more or less tradable, but it did break out of that and try to reject. I'll draw that for you. So here was the attempted breakout and rejection, but the rejection wasn't too deep, so it still could break out. And all it's got to do is break above this neckline right here, this yellow line that I just drew. And as long as it breaks above that, it could go towards some targets to the upside. But part of that's going to involve this pretty strong local resistance sitting right at 65.37. So we'll see if it can do that. Where might it go if it does that? I would use these metrics and say your two targets are going to be 65.68 and 66, which I would go below this major structure here and bring that down to 65.90. Those would be the upside targets, but right now I'm not seeing enough volatility to be confident price is going to head up. Now we're going to take a look at the beasts. The beast has even less volatility. It's just been winding sideways. It's got a little bit of bullishness to it. I expect not a lot. I expect price to continue to range and to maybe bump its head on this local high right here at about 199.82. But I just think sideways for now, unless something major changes in the market that affects the Japanese yen or the British pound. And of course, we do have British pound news this week. Governor Bailey is speaking. They may need to protect their currency. We could see something happen with that. So we'll just watch for those news events and go from there. Let's take a look at gold. Gold being extremely resilient. The algos had it going sideways and possibly down, but in this local range, it did kind of break up a level. It is finding a little bit of trouble breaking above this local resistance at 3,400. Will it go up to 3,450 and challenge the highs? It could. The real high, of course, is right at about 3,500. That's a pretty long way to go for gold in this short time. I don't expect to see an all-time high this week, and the high time frame bias, of course, is always bullish with gold, but when you look at the mid time frame algos, they are up against a lot of pressure. So we're going to see if it can grind sideways until it heads up, and of course it could just pop up when unexpected, but I don't expect that to happen right now. Just a slow grind up or possibly a sideways move depending on what happens in the world. Gold is very sensitive to geopolitical items, and geopolitical items are what's going on right now, and it does seem like a lot of that is winding down, but you never know. You know, people start to misbehave and bomb each other, and that could send gold all the way up to the highs. So thank you for watching. what we do is we predict price. These predictions, of course, are a general idea of where things could go. I do not use them for trading. I just use that to know which way the wind is blowing or which way I think it's blowing. The algos, this data at the bottom of the screen, tells me where I think price will go, and I use that data to make trades in a systemic manner. We teach people how to do that at Algo Factory. So again, go to the description, get your free algo, click the link. We'll also send you data on when we're going to do our webinar and our weekly updates like you're seeing right now. We remind you when those are with a little data in those emails as well. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. EST. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we do the live show for about 10 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, so that you can watch me do this live in the morning. And of course, if we get new data, we correct these forecasts. Thanks for watching. See you next time.